1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
If I saw someone who had a wet spot on the front of their pants, I would immediately assume that they had wet themselves. I wish I didn't jump to that conclusion, because there's so many things that have happened to me personally that have caused a wet spot on the front of my pants that have nothing to do with bodily fluids. Occasionally, you'll find that someone puts a faucet that's too high for the shallow depth of a sink, so when you turn it on, it just immediately splashes. Sometimes there are folks who there's no like paper towel to take care of, and so you just wipe it and then a little glob gets up there. Or maybe something else spilled on the pants, they went to the bathroom and then they just had to wash it off. Maybe it looked like they would have had sweet and sour teriyaki sauce on their pants, but they were kind enough to go take care of that stain. And boy, oh boy, there's nothing worse than having someone assume that you've had an accident. And here's the thing, folks. We all have. Do not lie to me and say, there's never been a time where I've never had any kind of an accident, because you're a liar. And it's not because you're less of a human being. It's not because you suffer from something like incontinence. There are just things that happen. Maybe you were out somewhere and they undercooked the chicken and you didn't realize it. Or maybe something so hilarious happened. Maybe you pulled up your favorite episode of JJ Meets World and I said something that was so cute and so clever that you were laughing so hard you did a little squirt.
Basically a reverse spit take.
A reverse spit take. Well, no, it wouldn't be a reverse spit take. It would be... What would you call that?
I guess drinking water is technically a reverse spit take.
No, yeah. So what would you call that? For
a pee take. It'd be a pee take.
A pee take?
Yeah.
So maybe you happen to have a pee take.
Right? Yeah. That's coming out.
I've had deep conversations with my friends where I said, let's admit to ourselves the last time that we had an accident. And I'm not going to get into that because some of those people have been guests on this podcast. I won't tell you what episode, but it might be in the first 5. And we've had long conversations about those little moments. And I'm not even talking about
You're saying Rich Summer from Mad Men. That's what you're saying.
I wish he was my friend. Nope. He was just somebody who came in and spoke into a microphone and left. Yeah. But this story recently was told to me and I had never heard it before. So we're recording this around Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. And Mother's Day is a fun holiday. I love Mother's Day. My own mother has passed away, but Jill's family, Claudia is practically my mother. I know a lot of other people who have been very motherly to me in years past, and I celebrate them, and I celebrate all mothers. So this person who was a previous guest on our show told me a story about how she had... How she had been drinking grape juice, a lot of grape juice, and she had just chugged the bottom of the part of the glass, and she was like, I'm going to burp in my mom's face, and she's going to love this. And so she turns to her mom, and she goes, hey, and she, instead of burping, ends up vomiting all over her mom with grape juice. And she said there's this minute where she's dumbfounded and her mom is dumbfounded because neither of them expected that to happen.
Thought I was done with this after you were an infant.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is I said, well, when did this happen? Like when you were like 7 or 8? And she goes, no, within recent memory. And I said, so what did your mom do? And she goes, well, she was most pissed because it pretty much ruined a pair of pants. We all know how grape juice stains.
Grape juice and bile too.
And so it made me think about another vomiting story of a friend of mine who was at Warp Tour. Do you remember when Warp Tour was a thing? I don't even know if they still do it.
I don't know.
In fact, do you remember the day you and I were driving back from Kentucky and we stopped for gas, and on top of the gas pump, there was an envelope, and I grabbed the envelope, and it was 2 tickets to Warp Tour. That was like in a town 2 hours in the opposite direction of where we were going. I was like, Tucker, should we go to Warp Tour? And you're like, listen, I don't want to go sit and listen to Jimmy Eat World and Alien Ant Farm.
I didn't bring my Vans.
So get out of here. So we didn't go to Warp Tour. Anyway, when Warp Tour was a thing, at one point it came through our hometown, our small hometown, which is a big deal. And one of the things they had was, it's Warp Tour, brought to you by Yoo-Hoo. Delicious, chocolatey Yoo-Hoo. And so they had a Yoo-Hoo stand where they had tons and tons and tons of free samples. And there was a Yoo-Hoo chugging contest. And whoever chugged the most cold Yoo-Hoo would win a Yoo-Hoo t-shirt. And so this buddy of mine goes, I'm going to get that Yoo-Hoo t-shirt. So it starts chugging.
Always tied to a free t-shirt.
And
it's not really free, though.
He doesn't win, and he ends up vomiting back into a Yoo-Hoo bottle and almost fills it. And so the Yoo-Hoo guy goes, hey, give that to me. I will give a Yoo-Hoo skateboard to anybody who drinks this bottle of Yoo-Hoo. No! And some dude in the back goes, I want a skateboard. So he comes up. Now, here's the thing. This guy had been chugging so much Yoo-Hoo that it was still cold. It's not like the temperature changed. And so he chugs the Yoo-Hoo. And my buddy feels awful because if you've ever had that much Yoo-Hoo to drink in the hot summer sun, and then you have to expel some of it from your body, you already know it's a bummer. Oh. So those are 2 stories, 2 vomit-related stories, which is perfect because I'm gonna warn you folks a little bit. If you listen to this at your desk and you keep the volume high enough where maybe someone through the vents has been enjoying episodes along with you, you're going to want to pop some headphones on for this one or turn it down a little bit because we talk about a lot of stuff on this episode, including, and this is where you need to turn it down. I'll give you a second. Pig penises, amongst other things.
Literally pig penises that are amongst other things.
Yeah, amongst
the crowd, I saw a pig penis.
It's one of those games where the find it games where they give you 7 items on the next page and you got to find you got to find a jar full of marbles, a chocolate bar, and a pig's penis.
It's the weirdest highlights issue ever.
Mm-hmm. I like it because there's a little bit of alliteration there.
You know, so for today's guest, so we're recording today, but we had time with Jason in the studio the other day. Mm-hmm. Jason Jacobson is today's guest. What do you think was going on with the 3 of us, though? Because usually when we sit down and record these things, the guest comes in and, hey, how's it going? Here's how to use the microphone, blah, blah, blah. And then we start. But we spent 30 plus minutes talking about things that will never make it onto the podcast.
Which is a shame because some of it was very interesting.
Yeah, but I like it was like we all had some poison we had to get out yesterday morning.
We had some not anger, but poison's a good word. Like you just need to it's like we were giant noses and we had some blackheads and we just needed to put a Biore strip on and rip out those we were giant noses and Biore strips. Consider this podcast your Biore strip of the afternoon.
Yeah, this podcast is like a good colonic.
Yeah.
You know, this is the one that it's going to be gross, but you're going to feel better once it's done.
There are things that people, excuse me, where people don't tell other people about it. It's like the miracle of childbirth, right? So if you have, your mom would probably never tell you this, and doctors aren't really open about it. And I know they didn't talk about it in health class when I was in 7th grade, but most people will tell you that the miracle of childbirth is very different than what you've been told. Like it's not just being sweaty and gripping the edge of a bed for 2 seconds and then the baby's born. There's a lot more that goes into it, including sometimes pooping.
You know, I get why we describe childbirth as a miracle, because we're saying this is a very important thing, how amazing a new human is in the world. Isn't it fantastic? Isn't it miraculous? But we're misusing the word miracle there, aren't we? Because a miracle is something that happens when it could not have happened, right? Like it's like a out of thin air, but we've been making babies for ever since we were
Now, I feel like,
little swimmers in the ocean.
yes, I agree. But like, there's a difference between making babies and having babies.
I'm not saying that the like what women go through with childbirth or anything like that. I'm merely saying, by definition, I think a miracle is something that, like, it can't have happened often. If it happens every single day, it
Like
can't be a
turning
miracle.
water into wine.
Yes, there you go. Exactly.
Right.
Parting the Red Sea. Like a thing that
A
should,
man asking for directions.
something that should not happen, or you would not expect to happen, and suddenly happens against any known laws of physics or time.
I think the argument there would be sort of that the human body opens itself like a demogorgon from Stranger Things and allows something that you wouldn't imagine can pass through and be a part of the world. So I understand where you're coming from. And there are certain words we overuse nowadays, like the word literally.
Sure.
When you are using the word literally, most people are literally using it the wrong way.
I think you could also make an argument that by calling birth a miracle, you're actually taking away from how amazing it actually is. It's not that it's a miracle, it's that it's incredibly painful and difficult and life-changing. And
Right.
isn't it amazing that half of the human species is able to do that? Like that, to say that
There you go.
If it's a miracle, it sounds like, oh, something stepped in and you had nothing to do with it. Isn't it miraculous that the weather suddenly changed today when we needed it to? But what a woman who's giving birth is doing is something that's not miraculous, but it is intense and clearly painful and stressful. And I'm lucky to not ever have to know what that's going to feel like.
Like instead of a miracle, we should call it a marvel.
Maybe Marvel's the right word, or something else.
Or a stunner.
The old thesaurus.com.
Supernatural occurrence. Because that's what a miracle is. It's a supernatural occurrence. And that is not, you're correct. That is not what birth is.
It's a very natural occurrence.
It's a very natural occurrence. And it's quite the undertaking.
Yeah.
Which makes you think of the Undertaker and the WWF.
You are the master of the segue.
I am. I love a good segue. I never got into wrestling as a kid, but I did have a wrestling buddy, a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy specifically, and I loved that thing because you always wrestle with it. And then it was like, that's for boys, and then girls get like a kid sister doll.
Was Undertaker your favorite wrestler?
No, I don't know anything about wrestling.
But you know who Undertaker is.
Yeah, I know he is one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And let's see.
Correct.
Yeah, I know more. I could probably name at least half, if not more, of the Super Punch-Out characters.
Oh, Super Punch-Out.
Do you remember who the first person you faced in Super Punch-Out was?
It's the old guy.
Gabby J.
Gabby J.
And he would go, womp, womp, yay.
Did you ever beat that game?
Oh, yeah.
That game, I can play it now up until you get to, once you've beaten the 3 main rounds as a perfect, and then you get the super special one. Once I get there, it takes me a couple tries to remember the patterns. The boy prince is easy to get through, but then it's like that sort of really sort of racist Fu Manchu type Asian American
who uses
character.
his hair to like
that's earlier. He's like a monk or something.
Mm-hmm. And he used a lot of kicking.
He's got a lot of kicking thing. He's got a staff. He's got like the long white sort of kung fu movie beard. And then it's 2 brothers, one after the other, who look exactly the same, that are really like, they kill you with one punch. Love Super Punch-Out.
It's a great game.
Love me some Super Punch-Out.
When I play games like Super Punch-Out, I convince myself that I'm athletic, which could not be any further than the
boxer.
truth. Yeah, like I would play Punch-Out enough to be like, I should give boxing a try. I think I may be missing out on an opportunity.
You and some of our friends at one point go, hey, let's try boxing this weekend?
Was I part of a fight club? Yes, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because the one rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
How good of a fighter were you?
So I think
you've got some advantages.
I do. I've got a long reach. I'm a bigger guy.
You're strong.
And that's the thing is like, so a bigger guy is used to carrying around weight. So I've got some really defined muscles because of that.
You're also very spry.
I am way more. I'm kind of like Chris Farley. Like they used to talk about how Chris Farley used to, like he had the moves of a ballerina on stage, and I can do that. I think of myself kind of Fred Flintstone-esque.
But you're not even carrying nearly as much weight as he was, So
No.
you're still in sort of a nice spot there.
So I appreciate that. Now, that being said, the first time I did box in this underground thing, and you have to understand, this is how low rent this was. We would put 3 minutes on a microwave. And not the timer. We would have the microwave would be spinning with nothing inside of it for 3 minutes. And when it went ding, the round was over. That I took some blows and I gave some blows. I had a move I had called the windmill where I would spin around, but I would spin and I would have my arms it would come around the side and it would be up at my head's length. And then as I'm spinning around, I would bring my arm down so that it would build up momentum so that when it would come back up, I'd uppercut somebody with it. And the windmill, oh boy, if you gave me room to do the windmill, you were on the outs.
If you were a special character on Super Punch-Out, then what level do you think you'd be at?
Well, probably World Circuit.
World Circuit? Okay.
Yeah. Probably World Circuit. And I would have one of those moves where you couldn't stop, but you'd have to time your dodge just right. And then if you were able to punch me after that special move, it would take a lot of health away.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, because there's one character, he's the Irish one, who if you super punch him, then he goes for a grab.
Yeah, and he can absorb your energy.
Yeah, so you then have to punch him in the midsection, and as he tries to grab you, you can stop it. And you, most of the fights in that game, if you punch quickly enough and time it well enough, you can straight one punch through the whole level. And just like Gabby J is one, Piston Hurricane is one.
Mr. Sandman, I think, is one where you had to be patient.
You had to hit him in the stomach a lot.
Yeah, and you had to let him throw a punch and then you double.
Absolutely.
Punch and double back.
Absolutely. You would always, it's basically a game. And how long does it take you to memorize what it takes to get through this level?
Lest we forget, the original version of Punch-Out was on the Nintendo, and it was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and they had agreed to a licensing deal with Mike Tyson. And then they're like, gee, we probably don't want to do that. Think of other products, and all they did was just pull his name off it, and they called it Punch-Out instead.
Was Tyson the villain at the end of the game? Was he the last person you beat?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you're Mac the whole time.
You're Mac. Okay. You had training, and you had your trainer. But what if George Foreman? What if they pulled George Foreman from the George Foreman grill? And it's what do you just call it? Grill?
So if they made a Super Punch-Out movie, what's the name of the actor who plays the dad on Family Matters?
Oh, who plays Carl Winslow?
That actor, what's his name?
I wish I could remember. Cause also he's great in Die Hard. Shoot.
He would be the coach.
Without a doubt.
For Mac.
Yeah.
Who plays Mac, do you think? Maybe Tom Holland?
No.
Not a shrimpy little guy?
No, because you still need a nice ripped upper body. Mac was tiny, but he still had a great set of pecs.
Yeah, you're right. So
and also somebody who can make themselves opaque. And you wouldn't want to CG that.
That's right. That's right. So it'll have to be a no-name actor out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. But it'd be fun to cast the other fighters.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that, there are definitely racial stereotypes being played on though in that game.
When I played it recently, because they included it on the SNES Classic.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, boy, this thing did not do any favors for international relations.
I mean, I think of Hike Kagero, who's the Japanese fighter. And that it's even hard to describe how that character is animated and said.
Oh,
but
it might as well be Mickey Rooney from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh yeah.
It's bad.
It's definitely that of a different era.
Mm-hmm. But when it boils down to it, we're smarter now. We expect more from video game designers. We expect more in the realm of being inclusive with stories and storytelling.
I can't think of a boxing game since then that I liked more than Super Punch-Out. As far as just a boxing game in general, I feel like Super Punch-Out is the pinnacle.
Yeah, Super Punch-Out, because you had a kind of a story, right? You were the underdog.
Yeah.
And you identified with Mac. And I think other boxing games that have come out have more or less made you just a it's like playing Madden, right?
Sure.
You're playing as Brett Favre.
Yeah.
And it's not as fun. Now, if you could create your own avatar and you were there and it's like, what a Cinderella story is young Tucker Lucas wins the MVP of this year's NFL season.
I wonder how much of it has to do with the limitations of the technology at the time. There was only so much they could expect to do visually. And so then they focused the rest on gameplay mechanics and the physics of it and stuff, versus like games now, like so much attention is put into how realistic it looks and the storyline and how cinematic things play out. And sometimes the mechanics fall to the wayside. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Would you ever play a video game that is all about you getting ready for work?
I'm so terrible at that in real life. I'm sure I'd be really bad at the game too.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what my thing is like.
So
and what things you get scored as you leave your apartment. So like, yo, you didn't shower. Oh, you only got a little bit of deodorant on this.
So it starts. You feed the cats, and then you go to the bathroom for 20 minutes, and you BM while you check everything online, all the news sites, all the social media. Play Marvel Strike Force, and then
you go like, oh no, I forgot to email Becky and HR back.
But then I just do it right there on the phone, and then you get some chicken from the fridge, reheat that
for breakfast.
Then the shower starts. Yeah. Chicken and shower at the same time. Which is basically it's a typical day that everyone starts with, you know.
And then it's wah wah wah. It's Saturday, and then you're all bummed out. I think we should launch this game. If you're an app developer out there and you want to help us with the JJ Meets World game where you have to help JJ get ready, I think that would be a game that people, it sounds ridiculous, but I feel like people would play it for the novelty aspect.
Absolutely. Especially if we were giving weekly unlock codes in the podcast itself.
Oh, think of the skins that you could have in that. You could like buy a leisure suit for JJ.
You know, one of the things that I have a lot of nostalgia for from our era of video gaming when we were kids would be like Sega Visions magazine or Nintendo Power magazine. Oh, yeah. And that was the sole source of news and information about video games that you could play.
And walkthroughs,
codes. I ate those things up. If I see a magazine like that today, like an old one, I'll still pick it up and read it because I think it's interesting. You see diagrams of Zelda and other things you wouldn't see before. I miss that part of it.
I was in an office of a creative person recently, and they had their like top 5 favorite NES games, and they had taken you remember the fold out walkthroughs like of those side scroller games?
Yeah.
And so it was like 4 pages long, but all connected together, and it showed you the full walkthrough. And so they were pulled out and framed on his office wall.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was one of the coolest things I had ever seen. And I said, I am going to give you major props for these. And he said, these things remind me that I spent hours and hours and hours playing something that was incredibly simple. And it's all about finding something that is entertaining and engaging.
Do you remember what the games were?
Yeah, one of them was DuckTales, which really captured my attention right off the bat. Then I think there was a Ninja Gaiden. Let's see. What was the Little Nemo's Dream World was one of them, I think.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the other ones were because I was so busy looking at the DuckTales one.
I remember the moment vividly, and we have it on video too, when I got Super Mario 2 for Christmas.
Yeah.
It was just the best, just a rush of energy waved over me, and I was so pumped. Oh my God, Super Mario 2. That was such a big time for me. And then also Super Mario 3. I both for the first Super Mario and the third Super Mario, I went through and recreated the sections of the instruction book because it would have drawings of the different villains. And I fully recreated in just by drawing it out and copying it, the instruction manual for Super Mario's 1. Brought it to Mrs. Honnell's first grade class and got her to read the whole thing to the class for me.
Nice.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Oh, I was big on that. That was a huge day for me.
Well, it's interesting you bring up reading because our guest today is a person who can read. I don't know how well. I don't know if they've read something recently, but I do know that Jason Jacobson knows how to read because
he knows how to write.
Well, I don't know about that. I can't say that I've ever seen Jason write, but I've never seen him write. I've never witnessed it taking place.
Yeah. He works in advertising. He does a lot of, for people who don't know him, does a lot of writing for ad campaigns, ad copy, slogans, etc.
Yeah. Jason's a great guy Jason's a great guy to do one of these where you go like, ugh, I hate that commercial where so-and-so and does this, or I hate this jingle. He'll be the one to go like, yeah, but you're talking about it, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're talking about it.
Yeah.
Be like, you are the ultimate wet blanket when it comes to media advertising. You're the one who proves to me that I am as big of a shill as they hope that I will be. So without further ado, Jason Jacobson's on today's show. I think you guys are really, really going to like it. You're going to want to follow it through. There's also an idea on here that I'd like some feedback from you guys. Tucker pitches an idea for a comic strip. And if you want to character design this comic and send it our way, we'd really appreciate that. And don't forget, folks, you can always check out our Facebook page to see what the other people have posted for this particular character. And I'm going to use a lot of P's, and you'll understand why. So sit back, strap in. It's JJ Meets World with Jason Jacobson.
JJ Meets World.
Welcome to the podcast, Jason Robert Jacobson. Social Security number 502-172256. Is that correct?
You got so close on my social security number.
Did I really?
I'm not going to say how many numbers you got right,
Right, yeah. Let that be a mystery.
but enough.
I mean, I've seen your social security number before, but I don't memorize it. I've seen a lot of people's social security numbers. I have to do my taxes. So I get access to that, but I always think do you notice how I have you guys fill that out and then give it back to me because I don't want to see it. I want you guys to know what it is, but there's a little bit of mystery.
When you were growing up, weren't you told that your social security number was the most important number that you keep a secret? Mm-hmm. But then I put it on my tax forms that I hand to strangers.
Yep. I mean, if I threw a big rager at my house and someone came in who I didn't know, they could find them. It would take a long time. It takes me hours to find them from last year when I'm prepping my new taxes, but they could find them eventually. Or if someone broke into my house and Home Aloned me and I tried to set up booby traps that did not work out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's part of the problem with booby traps is when I was a kid, do you remember the movie Three Ninjas?
Oh, yeah.
They took a coffee filter and put a ton of cayenne pepper in it, and they made these little spice bombs. I did that. Coffee filters don't explode on contact.
No, maybe cheesecloth,
That'd be smart.
or at least a...
Didn't they put X-Lax in
Yes.
a guy's... What did he drink?
It was like a soda. They were pizza delivery guys. Or posing as pizza delivery guys.
And so the guy was drinking his soda. And so, yeah, because the thing is you also have to have some foresight into how someone is going to walk into your booby trap. So Home Alone, Kevin McAllister is a genius because he scopes the whole house in his brain and goes, right, this is probably where they're going to go. And if they do this thing, they're probably going to go do that thing. And that's how he pre-plans it. I tried to do the Home Alone traps once in the middle of summer. I'm not proud of this. And I tried to I threw water on the sidewalk.
in the summer.
In the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 5.
That's producer Tucker Lucas right there. Glad he's manning the audio. You're really good at technology.
Yeah. I know. It only took me an hour to get this recording started.
That
today.
was something that my mom did to entertain us when we were about 5 years old. And she would give us a Dixie cup of water and a paintbrush. And she'd be like, go paint the outside steps. And they were like stained wood. And so you'd and they would evaporate. Oh, kept us going for hours.
See, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
That's about as intelligent as what I was thinking.
I totally fell for it.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the concept
How
of
old were
busy
you?
work. I was probably 5.
Okay, good.
We were in the same vein.
When I get bored and I'm just cruising the internet, I find stuff that makes me think, oh, people are so smart. That trick that your mom used, because it's a trick. Your mom tricked you.
Oh, super tricked.
She tricked you. But that's a good trick because it's inspiring creativity. It's busy work for you so she can deal with whatever else she needs to deal with. But I saw this elementary school teacher who lined up all of her kids along a brick wall, and they pushed themselves against this brick wall in fun shapes, sticking up a leg and stuff like that. And then she ran by with this misting machine. And so the misting machine goes by and all the kids get slightly damp, but the brick around them gets slightly damp. So when they walk away, the area that they covered is super vibrant and red and brick. And then it's surrounded by the darker color of where the mist hit. And so is this cute little snapshot of these kids. It was like a little shadow program. And it disappeared 5 minutes later. It was awesome.
I like that stuff.
So, Jason Jacobson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This
for
is
having
exciting.
Me. Yeah.
We've wanted to have you on as a guest for a while.
Oh.
And so let's start with this. Who is Jason Jacobson? Not you, like another dude named Jason Jacobson. Have you ever met another Jason Jacobson?
No, I didn't know any growing up. And then I Google searched myself because of vanity. And yeah, there's several. I think there's one like choreographer, like Jacobson, E-N, I'm O-N. And he was and then they just all started popping up. That's because of the social media world, right? You go on LinkedIn and you're like, oh, these are all my cohorts. What do they do? Usually
Tucker names the episodes, but I'm going to insist on a different name for this episode because you're the first other JJ we've had on here. So this should be JJ's Meet World.
Ooh, plural.
Meets Worlds. Let's pluralize everything.
I was kind of thinking about calling it JJJJ, but that works.
Yeah, JJ's Meets Worlds.
JJ Meets World sounds like a bad password.
Could it be JJ parentheses?
JJ meets JJ Meets World.
There you go. Done.
This is good. See how we're working this out? People are like, oh, I've always wondered how the names come to be.
This is a partnership. I mean,
it's like, it's a relationship. Don't call it a partner. It's a relationship.
Yeah, isn't it a relationship a partnership? De facto?
Not always. Because I use the term relationship and I talk about two men who've shared a bed. And we have.
That's true.
And you and I have shared a bed.
But it was functional, so is that like a partnership?
The three of us haven't shared a bed, though, at the same time, have we?
That's a lot of...
We can make that happen. We're in my apartment.
Do you have a queen or a king?
I have a queen.
So it'd be cozy.
Yeah.
Be real. I'm not a big cuddler.
I'm thinking who is JJ is probably the middle. JJ's got to be the middle.
Well, yeah.
I'll just put my arms out.
Yep.
You guys can use my
double
big
spoon. Is there a word for that? Is it double spoon?
I think it's big pimpin'. That's what it is.
So Jason, you're in the world of marketing.
I am.
And in fact, you do some pretty amazing things in the world of marketing.
Thank you.
You do a lot of great creative stuff. I love watching you get excited, like when an idea sort of bursts out of your brain. It is awesome.
You're not the first person to tell me that I think with like an expressive rubber face. I have a brow. I think it's furrowed so much that it's actually like muscle tone. Like I've got a Neanderthal brow just from living in my head all the time.
What do you like about marketing?
It's funny. When I started, I was told that I always like to be a creative. I was a performer and all these things. And of course, being from the Midwest, you have to be able to monetize that and get a job.
Jason did improv at South the same time I did improv at North. And Jason was the improver that all the improvers wanted to be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even today, Jason is the improver that a lot of improvers want to be like.
I remember it was World's Worst. And it was World's Worst, like oil baron or something. And Jason jumped to the ground and started doing a little corkscrew motion. And the whole place went nuts.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
Yeah. I peaked in high school. It was great.
Let's face it. The three of us all peaked in high school.
True.
I know that I peaked in the 8th grade because I've been 5'7" ever since.
I think it's more
That's
of a
1998.
Yeah.
I was playing a game recently where everybody everyone gets the same question, and then everyone puts down an answer. And one of the people in the circle who's has to read the answers and guess who put them. So it might be name your favorite candy bar. And so I write Snickers, you write Milky Way, Tucker writes Kit Kat. And if I can guess that Jason said Milky Way, I get a point. Now, sometimes 3 people will write Snickers bar. And so then it's easy. Then you can pick 3 random people. And if one of them gets it, you get a point. Well, the question was, what was the most gratifying moment of your life? and I'm reading the answers and trying to guess who it is. And the first one I read is when I got my college degree. Wow, that's a big moment.
That's a big moment.
When I held my niece for the first time. Well, that's
I can
kind of a
see that.
sweet moment.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's your goddaughter. And I get to the second to the last one, and it was when I threw Denim Parker's coat to the back of the bus and all of the change fell out of his pockets. And I couldn't even get through it because I was laughing so hard. And it was our good friend Sean. And I said, Sean, when did this happen? 3rd grade? Your most gratifying moment of your life happened when you were in 3rd grade? Nothing since 3rd grade has matched that for you?
Denim Parker must have been a tyrant.
The ultimate bully.
Well, you read those books when you're, 3rd grade, and you always have that super big bully villain, and they spin it up so much that he must have just been, stealing your bus tokens, because we had tokens back then.
Put him in an ice cream bucket.
Yeah.
Were you guys bus kids?
I was when I went to middle school. My house that I grew up in was about a block away from the high school and about 2 blocks away from my elementary school. And then it was on my mom's way to work. So in Fargo, we had 4 schools that we would go to. So Discovery, so 8th and 9th grade, I had to be the bus kid.
Yeah.
I remember getting up super early. I was kids. Puberty's weird. I would get up super early. I would walk in the middle of winter to where the bus stop was because it was inside the foyer. And I would sit and fall asleep by the heater for like 45 minutes every day until like the random kids started trickling in. And there's some. Then other people caught up with my master plan to like sleep by a radiator. And I'd have really awkward conversations with kids that just needed to get out of the house. It was bonkers. No Denim Parker though. Like I didn't have to deal with that.
It sounds
That
like that
jerk.
could be a play called like the Foyer, and it all takes place in this area where this kid shows up, coming to Broadway. The Foyer by JJ Gordon.
Little orphan boy in the industrial age.
Yeah, Tucker was telling me all about.
Yeah, I was telling Jason too, and Jason hates it.
You were on board until the name.
Tucker, why don't you just pitch this idea?
Glad to, Jason. I was thinking I would like to start a new project besides this podcast, and it's a Sunday morning cartoon strip that would appear in the paper that follows the adventures of a little orphan boy during the Industrial Revolution. And his name is Potty Mouth Potty Pants. And that's his name, but it's a name he has for a reason, because he has a potty mouth. He runs his potty mouth all the time. Because even though he's an orphan, he's not a poor orphan. He's a rich orphan. His parents, it's a whole story, but his parents were murdered by the people that they were forcing to build the railroads for them. And then, anyways, Potty Mouth Potty Pants runs his potty mouth all the time because he's got a lot of privilege. Potty's got a lot of privilege. And he runs his potty mouth so much that he doesn't take enough care to get to the bathroom in time. And then he has potty pants. And so then he runs his potty mouth more because he's upset he has potty pants. And he has to throw the pants out. He doesn't wash them. Every adventure ends with Potty Mouth pottying his pants.
You've added to this story to sweeten the deal.
Yeah.
So
what is it that's changed for you?
You got some feedback. And you're like, I need to tell this story more. You didn't take any of the feedback into consideration.
No, none.
You just decided to make the story longer. And that's why I'm glad you told it, because the court of public opinion needs to... We need a verdict.
An important thing, too, is Potty Mouth Potty Pants has friends. He's not, totally alone. But no one that's a guardian over him, I don't think, yet. Because if you have a guardian, you can't be an orphan, right? Right. So he has to be orphaned. The state has to be letting him live by himself in the mansion that his parents bequeathed.
They're letting his many shekels.
Raise
him.
And
also, I would like to quickly interject that I suggested that Potty Mouth Potty Pants piles his potty pants on the patio.
Yeah. So he doesn't throw out his potty pants. He's so wealthy, he has plenty of pants. And so they just come off at the end of the strip and they go onto the potty pants pile.
And that's how you know where you're picking up in the story, depending on the size of the pile.
Yeah, and then every once in a while there'll be like you'll throw the audience for a curve, like you're waiting for him to potty his pants and he doesn't. And you're like, wait, maybe he did just a little bit.
This is how the Donald Duck cartoon started.
Yep. Basically, I pretty much just ripped off Donald Duck.
So you had me at Sunday comic strip, Industrial Revolution, Orphan Boy. There's a lot of canvas there. And then you took a hard right to Crazy Town with Potty Mouth Potty Pants, who is now wealthy enough to just be throwing his soil. That's the gag. The whole strip, 5-panel strip. You're just waiting for him to pee his pants.
It's not a gag.
Have you
it's
read
subtext.
a comic strip before? That's all they are. Kathy said "ack" for 30 friggin' years.
That's basically Kathy going to the bathroom in her shorts.
That don't fit.
Every Kathy strip ends with her going to the bathroom.
So
That's what she's reacting to. It happened again.
Since I started my diet, I have found myself relating to Kathy, the comic strip, more than I did when I was just, in high school or college. And so now I feel like I did not give Kathy her respect when she was coming up with new content.
Well, I didn't give the Lockhorns their respect until I got married. So it's
Really?
just, you just have to go through life stages.
Has that changed you? I figured you would have been more of a Dagwood.
I don't know enough about Sunday comic strips. I would read The Far Side. Like when I was a
Great.
kid growing up, you would read The Far Side, you'd read Hager the Horrible, The Lockhorns, and that was probably like enough for me. Maybe some
you're not
Beta
a
Bailey.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe some Garfield.
Have they updated Dennis the Menace? Like, is Dennis using a cell phone? Is Margaret talking about her Snapchat?
He's still menacing, I'm sure.
Oh, without a doubt.
Is he ever getting in trouble for like cyberbullying then? Because isn't that the next
He
evolution?
would have to be. He could only cyberbully Mr. Wilson, though. He couldn't be cyberbullying the other kids.
No.
Hey, listen, I am going to give you guys cash money right now. I will give you $1 for every full name that you can provide of characters from Dennis the Menace.
Oh, damn
Dennis
it.
the Menace.
Yep. Nope. What's his last name?
Shit.
I'm going to give you guys $1.
I have earned $0, and I will continue to earn.
Walter Matthau.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can we prove that Mr. isn't Wilson's first name?
It's not.
Okay.
Would you guys like me to throw down some knowledge? This is without Googling. by the
Roger
way.
Wilson?
No.
George Wilson.
Yeah. Tucker gets $1. Now, what else?
Dennis McAllister?
Oh, you're close. It's an M. It's an M, and it's
Yeah, it's
also
Menace.
kind of technically a man's first name. It's Dennis Mitchell.
Oh,
And-
yes.
And it's George and Martha
That's right.
Wilson.
I should have. Oh, Martha, I should have been able to figure out.
I would have given you Ruff
Because he
the
calls
name of
the
his
dad
dog.
Mitchell, right? Doesn't Wilson call
Yeah,
the dad
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Yep.
The movie with Walter Matthau is still fantastic. to
I
this
watch
day.
it once a year.
I love that movie.
The young
so
boy
much.
who played Dennis Mason Gamble really crushed that role.
I remember even the behind the scenes featurette on how they did the shot where he slingshotted the pill into his mouth and how they built like a fake large mouth to put the camera inside of for that shot.
Oh,
It blew me away as a kid.
that's where my distrust of hobos comes from. Because of the fact that that's what happens is a train riding hobo comes into town and he starts messing things up.
That's right. Yeah, they would not make that character today. Because what he takes him for like ransom, right? Is what he wants. He wants to like ransom him or something.
Yeah, he doesn't originally, because lest we forget, in the plot of the Dennis the Menace movie, Dennis ruins Mr. Wilson's chance to look at the flower that it takes 40 years to grow and only blossoms for a few seconds. Because Mr. Wilson is being robbed at that time.
Well, it's everyone doesn't see it at the party.
Oh,
Everyone-
no.
Doesn't everyone turn away?
Everyone turns around. George is the only one who doesn't see it. Because Dennis goes, Mr. Wilson, someone stole your gold. And everyone kind of looks around, and then they go back, and you hear all the, and he's the only one who actually misses it.
I don't know. I have a different memory of how that scene plays out.
Let me tell you something. I watched that movie a week ago. So I know for a fact that this is what happens. And then Mr. Wilson gets mad at him, and he runs away. Now, Mr. Wilson had, in fact, been robbed by Christopher Lloyd, who is playing Boxcar. He had a name like Boxcar something.
Oh, if I only knew the answer to that, I would have gotten $1.
You would have, you would have gotten $1. And then he runs away, and he runs into the thief while he's running away, and he doesn't know that's the guy who robbed Mr. Wilson. And so that's the plan: is Christopher Lloyd's going to hold him for ransom
on top of what he already stole,
right? Because he stole a lot of other stuff. He stole purses, he stole jewelry, all sorts of stuff. From
what was Mr.
Wilson's
profession?
He was a postman. He's retired now, but he was a mail carrier.
He must have really saved.
I know. I'm telling you guys, I watch this movie all the time.
JJ, I'm sorry, but I have proof in my hands that you're wrong.
That
the whole crowd turns away and doesn't see it.
And okay, are you watching the clip?
Yep.
Because they turn back and they see it blossom, and he's the only one who does not. Are you watching the clip right
Dennis
now?
the Menace is running out.
Yep.
He says, hey, everyone look. He looks. Yep. It
opens, but then wait for the comeback, because there's people who are looking in the same direction.
Nope, they are all running away.
You're not listening to it with audio. I'm telling you, they get to see it. They get to see it because you can hear them react to it.
Do not see a single shot of them all looking at the flower, though. So I think everyone missed it. I think the crowd missed it.
No.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
I just think that was a poor investment of gardening. It's a lot of work for nothing.
But he wanted to have the garden of the year. He wanted that, that's why he was the shoe-in for it.
It's only the garden of the year 1 year out of 40.
Right, but that was his big year. It was his big year.
He doesn't have another 40 years, right?
No.
He's toast after.
Yeah, he's not buying green bananas.
How old do you think he is? How old is Walter Matthau in that, do you think?
In his 70s for sure.
Because
he's not super old.
He still did Grumpy Old Men 2 come after that?
I believe so.
Okay.
Also, not to go back too far, but when we were talking about the X-Lax that they put in Three Ninjas, this became a lot about movies from our childhood. But there was the early 90s were all about making people have uncontrollable diarrhea. There were a lot of movies that included people having uncontrollable diarrhea.
I don't think that's from our childhood. I think you can follow that to American Pie, follow it to Van Wilder. You can follow that to Bridesmaids.
Yeah, but maybe JJ's onto something in that the advent of it happened. Because I think he's onto something. Because I bet if you go back to pre-1990, I bet finding movies with diarrhea in them is really difficult. But I'm thinking of Dumb and Dumber right
that's
now.
Classic.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's a absolutely wonderful scene of uncontrollable diarrhea.
I'm trying to think, what are some other
What
scenes?
is the genesis of that prank?
And who did it happen to first?
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be the timeline then of, I want to say Three Ninjas came out first before Dumb and Dumber.
I think it did.
I think it did. Is there any Disney movie with uncontrollable diarrhea? Better question. What Disney movie could be improved if a character in a key moment
suddenly had uncontrollable diarrhea?
I think The Little Mermaid.
I thought about that, but then it's in the water, so they're not really...
The whole family has to deal with Eric's...
All you'd have to do is you'd have to just put a little bit of that X-Lax in the general vicinity. You wouldn't have to get them to drink it.
Oh, so it's okay. So it's the X-Lax bit in a Disney film.
It's I think both examples we have.
Okay, then
they're induced as it's not that you just ate something and you have the shits.
That changes things.
It's always a comeuppance of some kind, or because he's going in for Jim Carrey's gal. Right? So that's why he's like, well, I got to do this to you now. You're going to get some comeuppance.
I thought we were still talking about The Little Mermaid.
Unless it's Flounder.
Listen, we're gonna do some deep research in this, all right? We'll include this in some posts, and we'll dig deep into it. One of my favorite dig deeps I've ever done is everyone knows that Christopher Walken is a great dancer, and so he dances in a lot of movies he's in. You know who loves peeing? Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks pees in so many movies.
This is true.
Let's name some.
Green Mile.
Green Mile. He's got trouble peeing through the whole thing, and then he finally gets that good pee. Apollo 13, he pees into the space tube while he's an astronaut. A League of Their Own, he has the giant long pee scene.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. He pees at the White House after he has so many. I will have to
Toy
pee.
Story 1, 2, and 3. You don't see it, but you know he's in the booth just letting it go.
Well, I don't think
without
Woody
a doubt.
has. I don't think Woody ingests liquid.
No. You said just Tom Hanks, not the character of Woody. I'm saying just like in the booth.
But isn't
Like-
the point that he's getting characters?
They're writing characters that
Because
include
it's
him
his
peeing.
request, right? Like, hey, could we make this guy pee?
I don't know if it's his request.
It's gotta
Is
be.
Tom Hanks like classy R. Kelly? Like there's a time and a place to do this. You ask permission, and then you get it.
And let's face it, he's peeing in movies that are being directed by Robert Zemeckis, by
By the way, that's not someone peeing in the background. If you can hear that, it's a Keurig.
I hope people can't hear that in the background. By the way, if this episode sounds slightly tweaked, this is coming to you live from an apartment. I'm not going to tell you in what city, but it's not Fargo.
Yeah, we are moving between studios, and so these are temporary digs until we've got a better place for JJ to meet the world.
That's right. So let's get back to Jason because he's our guest.
Yeah,
We should
and I
make
was gonna
use
say,
of
like,
him.
I told myself on the way over here that I was not gonna go into bodily fluids. Like, I was gonna
really?
mind my. Well, I can't say P's and Q's without sounding like a hypocrite, but I wasn't gonna.
What did you psych yourself up for before this recording? What did you say? This is off topic. This is. I want to talk about this. I'm curious.
I was just like, I just don't want to, devolve. But then
Some people listen to this for that aspect.
I know. It's so easy for me to go there and be like, we're just gonna talk about dicks.
What's a yeah? Well, we didn't get that far, but we were on our way.
Well, we kind of were. We were talking about peeing.
pee.
Like
We were
the
talking about
next. That's where you go from there.
Jason, let's go with this.
Go with that.
What is the funniest T-shirt you've ever read? We're looking for the content of a T-shirt.
I think
with
the first
text.
time I ever saw "That's what" as a quote, and then on the bottom of the quote it said "she." I think that was the funniest T-shirt I've seen.
Jason and I were in St. George, Utah years ago for an improv show. And the shows did not go well. We had put a lot of faith into our local contact there to promote the shows, to which he did nothing. Zero. In fact, it cost me $80 to send him all of the posters that we had run off for this show, and he didn't put a single one up. And he told me, well, places around here don't really do that. And then we walked through the town saying, there's some posters, there's some posters, there's some posters, there's some posters. And then Jason made these little flyers that we went that said, throw away this flyer, or if we have your attention now, come to this improv show.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
We walked around town handing out these flyers. But after the first show, we went to a Red Robin. After the second show, we went to a Dairy Queen-like place. It had some food and ice cream stuff. And there was a T-shirt there that looked like a vintage 80s T-shirt that I remember specifically you picked up because when you looked at it, the way the font and the image on it was put together looked like it spelled a really, really bad word. Do you remember this shirt?
No.
It looked like it spelled a word that begins with the letter C. And we couldn't believe it because anybody could look at that and go, whoa, that was a mistake. That was some typography. You know, how did this get past the person who designed it, the person who approved it, and the person who printed it? Like, they should have stopped the presses at one point and stopped this thing. Is this coming back at all?
No. I'm so excited for the ending of my memory. I forgot.
St. George, Utah is also a place home to that video store that would edit out all of the inappropriate moments from movies.
Oh,
because
for Utah distribution.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you know the kind of people who are living in St. George, they have a certain way of life that they want to maintain. And when you purchase this, the girl behind the counter was like, oh, you're really excited about this. And you point out like, well, isn't it weird how it's got this thing? And she goes, I don't see that. And she shut you down immediately. So much so that I thought to myself, she knows. She knows, and she's been told not to acknowledge it. And you bought that shirt. Here's a story about Jason Jacobson for you.
Now I want to go find the shirt after we sign off. Because I just did a bunch of shirt purging.
Did you?
At my house.
It reminds me of the poster to Endless Summer. The T-shirt reminds me of that because it had this cool like 80s look to it.
Okay. I'll have to see if I can find that in the archives.
When you purge your T-shirts, what do you purge?
Just things that don't fit.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to let it go.
Do you put on like a hockey mask painted with like a clown face and pull out a chainsaw when you do it?
You have some interesting fantasies, Tucker. You do. I don't.
It's not like it's time for the purge.
I wear pants and I put the shirts on one at a time and then I raise my hands in the air. And if it's not just if they go up, it's if
they're
they
gonna go up.
It's if they stay up. Like if they're that tight where they make it over the wall of my gut and then they just kind of sit and I have like a nice midriff showing.
In a recent podcast, this kind of ties in. JJ and I had a conversation about people who would anyone say no to a free T-shirt? And when we realized that, no, probably no. But you're a dude with some style. You might not say no to a free T-shirt, but how often would you say you find yourself wearing free T-shirts?
Rarely. I don't wear a lot of free T-shirts. It's just I have to love the shirt. I'm not opposed to it.
Are you not? Well, you're a guy who came from theater. Do you have a million theater T-shirts?
Gotten rid of most of them.
Did you make a quilt
did.
out of them?
I believe, yes. I think there was some sort of blanket that was made on my behalf a while ago.
That's a very
T-shirts.
popular thing to do in the upper Midwest is to take old T-shirts from an event or something that you loved. Maybe it was like Jacobson Family Reunion 94. And then to weave them into a blanket or a quilt, some pillowcases occasionally. And so you can keep it for a long time. And then it's a little talking piece. But I think it also looks like if you walk into someone's room and they've got a T-shirt quilt like that, it looks like you're walking into their childhood. And it's not a very professional look to a bedroom. I
don't want to have a professional bedroom. I don't want to have.
I guess I've never heard
meetings?
that criticism before. Like, his bedroom is really unprofessional.
So unprofessional. It's
I have bedroom meetings all the time.
He has nudes of himself like on every wall.
Well, I always feel you're supposed to have a meeting on your home turf, and there couldn't be anywhere home turfier than forcing someone who's going to give you a mortgage loan to sit on the edge of your bed while you lay down on the other part.
You're just
and say like, I want a 2.1 APR.
I think you're just afraid of being vulnerable because that mortgage lender is going to use your T-shirt blanket and know everything he needs to know about you.
I don't know how afraid JJ is of being vulnerable. We just posted a video of him dressed up in a baby costume.
It's different. That's comedy. That's
right.
It's not intimate.
I'm controlling that. Jason's got a good point. That if that person is good at what they do, they are going to walk in there and they're going to be like, okay, 2 pairs of pants on the ground, funny underpants. And then he was in
Oliver in 2002.
I'm gonna use this to my advantage. I'm gonna find out about a person.
That means that he understands the Industrial Revolution, which means he might be familiar with a character.
See, I would love an episode where Oliver meets Potty Mouth Potty Pants.
What's he doing? Shutting down the orphanage that Oliver lives in?
He's got to expand.
Well, technically, Oliver becomes rich at the end of Oliver Twist.
True.
And so maybe they're both trying to buy the same, opium den.
Maybe Potty Mouth Potty Pants, like his wealth goes up and down too, right? Like he has periods where suddenly, like for once, maybe he loses a lot of his money.
Well,
he has to figure out how to get
con
it back.
Oliver out of his money.
He is super dependent on the textile industry.
Absolutely.
Like which was just booming in the revolution. But his livelihood and, I mean, he can't go back to those old pants.
No.
They're so crusty.
Well, yeah, those are forgotten pants. I mean, those will never be used
On the
again.
patio.
Yeah.
10 minutes ago, you used the word canvas.
I did.
And you taught me a phrase years ago that I love, which is canvas food. And there are certain foods out there that are canvas foods. Definition of a canvas food is a food that you can do many things with, that you can change and you can manipulate.
Yeah, talk about canvas foods. If you like a certain style of food, like taco, barbecue, buffalo, Thai, and if you can take that food type and apply it to a canvas or apply it to like a pizza. Pizza's a good example of a canvas food. Mm-hmm. Oh, you like pizza? Great. Do you like tacos? Yeah. Put the taco on the pizza, canvas food.
Taco pizza.
Taco pizza. Done.
We've never seen the reverse of that though, have we? Have we seen a pizza taco?
No.
I don't think we've ever seen a pizza taco. And I want to challenge the listeners, someone out there who's got a food truck, to make this happen.
So a pizza taco, in your opinion, would it still be a taco shell or would you use a crust?
You would have to be putting pizza filling inside of a taco shell.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say I'd give you the flexibility to use a flour tortilla.
Oh, absolutely. It wouldn't have to be like a hard shell. I think you could definitely make even burrito style it if you want, but then you're filling it with cheese and pepperoni or whatever you want, and marinara, whatever you like on your pizza.
I mean, you could kind of say that the calzone is on its way to the pizza taco.
It wants to be.
It wants to be. It's not there yet, though. You could also argue that
I can make a taco
is just a taco pizza taco.
What?
You could argue that.
I don't think so, because I mean that's a really thin crust and there's no baking involved in the pizza taco.
I think like you're not using pizza crust at all in this instance.
A cheese tostada is almost there, with the exception that it doesn't have pepperoni on it.
Yeah, but like think of like a pizza sub, right? Like that doesn't have pizza crust in it at all. That's a sub bread, but then it's got what you would consider pizza toppings inside of it.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
No, you do know. You look like you know, so you can
My
say
brow is furrowing. I
Yep.
can just feel the tension in my.
Call him out on it.
I just feel like you're making an assumption that like pizza toppings have to be pepperoni.
Well, that's merely an example. I'm not dictating what toppings you have to use.
Because pizza is such a canvas.
Absolutely.
I don't.
Even
That's
marinara.
the beauty of it, is that it's hard for it to transfer to one thing to another.
Right, but so yeah, it's. I think you're totally right. I would add to that it has much more to do with layering and amount. So in a typical taco, if let's say you're just making a beef taco with some regular fixings, you're probably going to think of it in terms of you're going to put some meat, then some cheese, then if you like lettuce or onions or anything like that, you can put that on there. Then in this scenario, I think you're making a taco. First, you're lining it with like marinara sauce, and then you're putting some like melted mozzarella in there, and then whatever toppings on top of that you want. Then I think that would constitute pizza, and you still have that open canvas.
You could go really Inception. Like, what's that old Andy Sandberg sketch was like Taco Town?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where we're getting to. It's going to be a taco, and then there's going to be a pizza inside, and then a crepe.
Mm-hmm. If they
Carry
could
in a
only,
bag.
so when I think of like a homemade pizza, or take like a Tombstone pizza, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I like the crust of my Tombstone pizza really crispy and hard, so that when I hold it, it doesn't bend. It stays rigid. If only I could find a way to cook it so it had a shell, so it was valley-like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like it's molded into that valley shape.
I think that's where the scientists need to start.
What would that? It would have to be made out of like not maybe cast iron or just metal, so that you can put it in your oven like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they serve tacos like that. You can get. I was at a restaurant the other day, and they serve their tacos in like little V.
Those
slabs.
things are amazing.
Yeah.
They're little pieces of stainless steel that look like villain teeth, like if you were to draw villain teeth. And the taco rests right inside of it. It has a genius move.
I want to see like the Charlie Brown shirt, and then you layer on tacos.
It's a great idea.
In between.
Wait, are you eating a shirt off of someone? No.
I assume that's
Charlie Brown
how they
pattern,
serve it.
Oh,
it looks
yeah.
like a bunch of W's or
Got
M's.
it.
Actually, I was thinking the waiter wears a yellow shirt with like a belt, and the belt is that design. And so as they're walking by, you're like, oh, I'll take one of those. And you grab a taco off of their Charlie Brown shirt.
So you're taking the theme of a Brazilian steakhouse,
Yep.
tacos,
Oh, God.
and Charlie Brown. And like
It's-
at your table, you just have a football. And when you move the football away, that means like I'm ready for more. And when you put the football down,
Maybe the next table has the doctor is in sign.
Yeah.
And you just flip that over.
There's a dog who's got a bird with him,
always.
just there.
just chilling.
Yeah.
And
Vince, I think the guy's name was Vince Girardi, who wrote Linus and Lucy and did a bunch of the score for all of the Peanuts movies and television series. That guy really dug into what these characters were.
When you say wrote Linus and Lucy, what do you mean?
The iconic Peanuts theme that you think, that's called Linus and Lucy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah,
I just thought it was
Linus
a
and
Peanuts
Lucy.
theme.
Yeah, it's got it. A couple years ago when I was on radio, we were promoting the fact that the Peanuts movie was coming out, and I got really good at saying Peanuts. So that
yeah.
it didn't sound like the Penis movie was coming out.
Yeah.
Which it did, just didn't have worldwide distribution. It was
In fact,
more.
it's got a million sequels.
So many.
Yeah.
And it was really weird
It's all a
because
shared universe, though. I like to assume that all porn is a shared universe.
oh, wouldn't that
Wow,
be wonderful?
That opens some portals into
That's
weird.
the headcanon that I use for that. You ever heard that phrase before? Headcanon? Mm-mm. It's, I think, and there are plenty of people who have more information on Star Wars than I do out there, but I'm pretty certain in the fan community online, while arguing over what gets included in Star Wars canon and what doesn't, this idea of headcanon came out, which is what you have decided in your own head is canon and that's all that matters to you.
Oh.
So if you want to decide that this is a part of it and that's not a part of it. But of course, then you're totally free to mean like, well, yeah, that means that Forrest Gump and Big take place in the same universe in my head. And those guys are related.
There's a Hanksiverse.
Yeah, there's like a Hanksiverse.
I love the theory that there
and
is
not a urologist in sight. That's the problem.
I love the idea that the Disney afternoon, like that block of cartoons, the Disney afternoon that was on when we were youngsters, is a shared universe. So Goof Troop is in the same world of Darkwing Duck, which is the same world of Tailspin.
That's a shared universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new DuckTales series that has recently come out has blended those things together. So they make mention of Cape Canaveral, which is where Tailspin takes place. And they mention the town that Darkwing Duck lives in.
Since Donald Duck lives in that universe, are the rest of the Disney characters, as far as like Mickey and them, are they present in that universe?
I don't think they show up at all, but they should.
Does that mean that Donald Duck might be trans-dimensional?
Oh, that's
He's in two dimensions at once.
Actually, truth be told, they have bridged this before. There's a video game series called Kingdom Hearts, which I loved Kingdom Hearts. And you play through all of these famous Disney areas. So you go through Tarzan's island, and then you go to Wonderland, and you end up, there's even one where it's like called Timeless River, I think. And you go to Steamboat Willie time.
Oh, wow.
And every time your character goes into one of these, they change a little bit to match. So now you've got these super skinny long legs and arms, and you're always moving around all weird.
We're talking about the Disney afternoons, and it made me get really nostalgic and have a longing for Gadget, which was my first animated crush. Just, I don't know where I'm going to go from there. I just really appreciated her intelligence.
It's a strange concept, though, right? Like an anthropomorphized
Crush?
rodent
Yeah.
was your crush, but I understand.
But you know what? I had a crush on her too, and it's because she was so smart
Are Chip and Dale competing for her affections?
the whole time.
Okay.
And Monterey Jack is not, because he's sort of like a pseudo uncle to her.
Yeah.
He knew Gadget's father and has been around.
And Cricket just knows like he's out of the game.
Yeah, of course.
You're not going to trans-species that. It's just not going to work. I don't know how the mechanics go.
She's a mouse?
She's a mouse.
Mouse.
That's
So
what I suppose. Like, Chip and
chipmunks and
Dale,
mice?
they're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, I feel like that's, But, that goes along, too, with there's always been this, like, idea of, are the Ninja Turtles attracted to April O'Neil? And in the Michael Bay movies, it's, like, explicit that they are. And that's a weird concept, if you think about it, that they're making comments about this person who's a completely different race than them.
Species.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really understood some of the mechanics of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not only I understand the family mechanics and being brothers like that the sibling rivalry is no problem.
Yeah.
But it's more like the ooze element, because Bebop and Rocksteady are made because they're introduced as humans and oozed with those same things. But why are the turtles? Because there was no human element with the turtles.
So they actually do address this in the cartoon. And it's what you came into last contact with affects your mutation. So the turtles have been touched by Splinter as a human, because in the cartoon, Splinter is also a human who turns into a rat. And so he had touched them, and then they run into the ooze, and then he had touched a rat, and then he touches the ooze. So, and then Bebop and Rocksteady, they're put in with actual animals, and they basically get like combined, so they must end up touching those animals as well. Same with Baxter Stockman, who gets caught in that zap ray. He doesn't get oozed, he gets something else.
He's mixed with a fly.
Yeah, with the fly
He gets Goldblum ripped off.
Yeah. So in the cartoons, it's basically what you last came into contact with affects your mutation, which is why the turtles turned into semi-humans.
They're lucky because they were in a sewer. What if they had touched a turd?
Yeah.
Or
They
does
still
that
would have
be
been human. They still would have been human because that was as long as it was human excrement.
Yeah, it's true.
I think they come into contact with DNA. So whatever the DNA
There's
of whatever
DNA in
whatever it
turds.
is that laid that turd. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bathrooms talk in this
So
podcast.
let's go back to this. What if you could be a turtle-esque? Like you touch an animal and then morph with it through the ooze.
And this is permanent. We're not talking anamorph style.
yeah, this is an anamorph. So you got animorphs could be permanent if you got
they
lazy
stayed
for
in.
2 hours,
Yeah.
but
But you have no choice in this matter. That you are permanent.
you are permanent.
Raccoon.
Okay.
I would like to be a human raccoon hybrid, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, they have their dexterity is amazing, because that would be my worry is, I want the speed of a cheetah, but then I can never open a door.
Right.
Right. But
And hygiene.
because raccoons are very hygienic. Hygienic.
And we are talking like a mutated version of a raccoon. So you'd be like a human raccoon, basically. You wouldn't just be a raccoon.
No, you'd be a human.
That's okay.
I imagine I'd have
raccoon.
like a really awesome, like shadowy area around my eyes that would look like a bandana. Very furry hands and arms.
Yeah. What about you, Tucker?
I'm running through the possibilities. At first, I was thinking kitty cat, but then I realized I was thinking of complete transformation into that animal. A kitty would be pretty fun, I think, because you're lithe and you can do all sorts of things, and everyone loves you. But I think, man, I actually think there's a lot of benefit to being a turtle, because they don't take any of the negative. Like, they're not slow like turtles are assumed to be. And they're not covered in salmonella, but they can still.
Aren't they, though?
I don't think the Ninja Turtles are.
I'm pretty sure they are. Also, you'd end up with a weird corkscrew wiener.
Turtles don't have a corkscrew wiener.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Listen,
Is it
there's
barbed?
a turtle right over there,
Is it
and I've
barbed?
seen it come out. No, so aquatic turtles, like the one I have over here, this Cumberland slider, it looks like a black eel that can turn into a mushroom that you would go doesn't fit inside that turtle. It's the weirdest penis in the world. Turtles have weird penises, and it's not corkscrew like a pig, which I think isn't it assumed that a pig has a corkscrew penis?
They've got a curly tail. It's like the tail gets sucked in and then... Yeah. I don't know about farms.
I don't know enough about animal
I'm sorry,
genitalia.
NSA. I'm going to Google pig penis.
There was a time in my life where this was something that happened to me, and be ready to lose respect for me. You know the old joke of like, well, the rooster has sex with a hen. Well, who's having sex with a chicken? So I love that joke. It's amazing. But I always thought that there was a chicken, a rooster, and a hen, and they were three different things. Tucker is showing us pictures of pig genitalia. And it looks
It looks like a drill bit.
yeah, that's what I
Like
thought.
if you need
if you need to pilot a hole,
if you need like a half-inch hole,
that's what you're doing.
put a nut through and a bolt.
But anyway, so
If you're making IKEA furniture, get your pig.
an 11-year-old girl told me, she goes, they're the same thing. And I'm like, no, because there's a chicken and then there's a rooster and then there's a hen. And she goes, no, this is all the same thing. And I was like, you're so cute, you little girl, but you don't understand what you're talking about. Well, she did understand what she was talking about, because it's like this: man, woman, human being, chicken, rooster, and hen. That's how that works out. And it blew my mind. The public school system failed me. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Isn't it funny how things that everyone else understands can blow your mind? Like it happened this year. I finally put together that the Target Center in Minneapolis was referring to a bullseye. What? Or 3 years ago.
Oh, like Target Center.
It's called the Target Center.
The center of a
Target is like
bullseye.
a bullseye.
Oh,
I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, the jingle, or every kiss begins with K. Took me a long time to realize that they meant the word kiss starts with the letter K.
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, I didn't. That's my rooster hen.
Did you think
chicken.
it was like it's the person
K
saying,
Jewelers?
K, you can kiss me, K. Okay.
No, it was more like every kiss begins with a K Jewelers thing.
Can I
I'd never
kiss you?
even
K.
The day that I was told about the Amazon logo, and so if you look at the Amazon logo, it looks like a little smiley face, right? And that's cute, but it's so much more than that because it's AMAZON, but the smiley face doesn't go across the whole bottom of it. It actually draws a line with an arrow that goes from A to Z, the first A to Z. And I go, whoa!
Well, it's on that same vein. If you look at the FedEx logo, in between the E and the X, it's an arrow.
Nah!
Yeah, it's an arrow.
We just had the Weedmans on here, who are friends and previous coworkers of yours. And we talked a bit about logos and in advertising. And one thing I noticed with Adam Weedman's designs is I don't think he's necessarily hiding too many things. Like those are most design choices in logos. It's out front. Like it's part of it that people would understand what they're looking at. But what do you think about that? Like, what is the purpose of hiding that stuff if we never noticed it?
I think it's fun to have an Easter egg. I know I had Adam put something together for me a while back, and I was intentional about I'd like something that's just kind of an Easter egg for me. They're fun. I think if they're not, as long as they relate to the overall thing that logo is trying to represent. So to me, a logo is a symbol of everything that a brand stands for. And so it makes perfect sense in Amazon that they have a little Easter egg that everything from A to Z, okay, it reinforces the overall promise that brand is trying to make to its customers. So I like it. I think it's fun. I don't think you should go into it always with the intent like I did when I asked him to do it, but everyone gets a nice little moment, and that's a joy. That's a treat. That's an add-on.
I guess you could have that with our logo in that JJ's face is a microphone.
And I'm also doing like a little Avita thing.
I noticed that.
The cover of Avita. I didn't catch that right away. It took me some time because I'm so vain. I just was focusing on my face. I also asked Adam, I was like, could you have made me look any plumpier in the dumpier? And that was not part of the podcast. But as I continue to lose weight, I'm going to tell him to slim that down. I eventually want my body to be the mic stand because I'll be so thin and beautiful.
We're going to have to do a weight loss podcast at some point.
We should. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Speaking of good ideas.
How much are you down, by the way?
I'm down over 40 pounds.
That's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Man.
And I mean, I've got a ways to go, right? Because I let myself go for a long time. But it's been so far so good. You recently took a honeymoon vacation.
I did.
That was so much better than all the other honeymoon vacations I hear about where they're like, oh, we went to Hawaii for 5 days. You chose to go to Asia and travel through Thailand.
I did. Thailand's so hot right now. That's a place where it's becoming more and more and more popular. Thailand's a wonderful, wonderful place. I got to hang out with elephants for an afternoon.
Tell.
Oh my gosh. Previously, one of the happiest photos I've ever taken is me holding a baby alligator because they're so soft and lovely. Elephants, turn that to 11. Their skin is like a microfiber leather couch with like really coarse and jagged hairs poking in. There was two of them were pregnant. So we're walking along this trail and they had about 4 or 5 with us, and 2 of them were pregnant. Elephants are pregnant for 2 years. So they're super hungry. They're eating 500 pounds of bananas a day. And they're they would give you like a messenger bag full of bananas and peeling off, and then their little trunks would go after it. And it was a feeding frenzy, and you touching them, they won't even feel it because their skin's so thick. And so you're getting pushed around by elephants, and then you go in the water, and we're bathing them, and they move an inch, and they just knock you flat on your back. Oh, they're wonderful, gentle, majestic creatures. I over the moon.
That's
elephants.
awesome. That's an experience you remember. I swam with dolphins once.
Oh, that would be amazing.
It was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life.
I like how there's some animals that are more like relatable to humans and some that aren't.
Yeah.
Like I would never want to be like, I'm trying to think of a group of, I'd never want to hang out with like a bunch of buffalo for the day. Like they're still massive herbivores.
Well, we just lost Kevin Costner as a listener.
He was our first download.
Well, he's not doing anything. Sorry, that's a 2000s joke. That's not a. So was swimming with dolphins, were they?
So I chose a place because I had read about there are some dolphin experiences where the dolphins are more or less treated like pack animals. You put on a life jacket and they pull you across this thing, and they have to. It sounds awful, right? It sounds like just the worst. And so this encounter was they got to choose whether or not they were going to come over to you. So you could be in there, and if you didn't put off the right energy, dolphins would be like, no. But luckily, dolphins love fish. And so you get a bucket of fish. And so they started coming over, and they would do things. One of them like spit on me, like spit in my face. And that was the coolest part. Because I was pissed at first, and I was like, what? And then I came back and said, "Oh no, this is adorable. You're a funny little dolphin." And then they did some tricks, and it was really neat to be in the water. They would run up against you, and they'd kind of like nuzzle you a little bit, and then they would swim away. And
same thing happened with the elephants. I'm glad you brought up there's the different types of reserves. So this is my public service announcement. You want to find elephants where you can't ride them. Because you can ride them bareback for a little bit because, a 200-pound person is nothing. But it's the harnesses that they wear like at the circus. Well, not their backs aren't meant to handle that, and the chafing and all that. It's really bad. So
yeah, it's important. I think it's neat that there's an opportunity to interact with these animals, but they're definitely the people who don't take the care for the animals as seriously versus other folks.
And they're so wonderful. Like even dolphins, I can't imagine that would be pleasant.
It was amazing. And of course I was slightly worried because you read some of these horror stories about dolphins attacking people, but I was not attacked by dolphins.
It's because you were putting off the right energy.
I was not afraid. I've recently started beekeeping, so I've been checking in with myself about controlling my fear and emotions because I am very afraid of bees. And when
are you just doing that in your backyard?
No, I'm keeping them up at Jill's parents' place up in Hillsboro because there's much more for them to pollinate up there. They're surrounded by fields where they plant corn and wildflowers and stuff like that.
And I feel like the neighborhood would be really upset.
That was my next question. Was like, whoa.
So we got 3 pounds of bees. Do you know how many bees come in 3 pounds of bees? Thousands upon thousands of bees. And so it gets shipped in a box that is solid on 4 sides, but then the other 2 sides are open with just a wire mesh over it. So you see the bees and you hear bzzz, and it's very hot because they're all close together. It's what they do during winter. They create this heat. So we're sitting there, and I'm already panicking looking at this thing. Not as much, though, as the poor mail carrier who would have to, deliver the bees, because that's how they come. They get delivered. And bees work their way out of this little cage. And so if you're driving a UPS truck, the odds of some bees getting in there are very probable. They have not figured out the perfect way to ship bees. But then you tip the box over once you take one of these mesh screens off and dump them. And there's enough in there that they actually dump out, and then you leave it open so
like
they
in
can
a
fly
solid block of bees.
Solid block of bees. And so I had to control my fear because bees can smell fear. I mean, we've heard this for years, so it must be true. And I did really, really well. I wore a long sleeve dress shirt with gloves over it. And then I did a trick where I pulled my socks over my pant legs.
Yeah, they weren't getting in.
Yeah, they were not going to get inside
You
of
got to
me.
go through the face.
But I do want to get a full beekeeper outfit. I had a hat that was provided to me that was like a fishing hat to keep flies out of your face. And so it kept the bees away from my face.
I was once stung by a bee that had crawled into my bed. It was under my covers, and I was getting into bed that night and put my feet in there, and suddenly I feel a sting.
There's an unprofessional bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
We just allow bees in our bedrooms.
Oh, that sucked.
I want to touch on something. I want to go back to this. We've gone into more adult conversation, like mature, but I got to go back to
Beekeeping
this
is super
swizzling
mature.
the spiral pig penis for a second.
Oh, sure. Because we really glossed over the pig penis.
And that's probably for good reason. But I just, it reminds me of like a dog chew toy that they've done. And I'm fascinated by like the designs and the products that people come up with. Because that UPS guy has to deliver it. Someone had to pitch the idea of like, you know what? I've got all these leftover pig penises and all these bull penises. What are we going to do? Well, let's braid them and then let's sell them as dog toys. That had to.
What?
Yeah.
Dog chew toys. You're not familiar with this?
I know that
Oh, yeah,
dogs
you
have chew toys,
you have
but
cats.
I
so-
didn't know that.
Yeah, so pretty much there are parts of animals that are considered inedible
Uh-huh.
that are taken to a secondary market and dried or crushed into other things, and then dogs or other animals can eat them.
Interesting.
And so they'll take the larynx of a cow and they'll just pull it out, they'll dry it, and then it becomes a chew toy.
Interesting.
Pig ears are
Oh, yeah.
popular.
I've seen
popular.
those. I've seen hooves as well, right? Like,
Yep.
Like feet.
Yeah.
I've seen those before, but interesting.
And I just like how there's. If you know,
Like,
how,
who's the guy?
Who's the guy? And then who is the banker that gave the guy the loan? And then who was the marketing guy who'd be like, I need a logo for these. It's going to be bull penises, dog toys. And the marketer has to go, I don't think we should call them bull penis dog toys. And then they had to have a meeting. And then how about swizzle sticks? And the guy's like, perfect. Swizzle sticks. And then he had to come up with an entire like a branding thing, a logo, a name, an identity, a purpose, a promise, all these foundational things. And then there had to be revisions. At the end of the day, it's just wieners.
Yeah, and then it's a matter of what are we going to package this in? Should we put it in a form packaging so people know the form of this toy, or should it be in a bag that we staple shut? How should we present this product to the consumer once it hits the shelves?
And even like, how do you source that? Like,
So
you know
this is interesting. I don't
He's
know
in with his
specifically
butcher.
this, but I was recently talking to somebody who told me a story about Las Vegas that I thought was very interesting. How Las Vegas, known for its buffets. Every casino's got a buffet. Some of them have multiple buffets. And you don't eat all the food that's on the buffet. They don't leave it out there until it's gone. They have a ton of leftover food. And so it used to cost these hotels a ton of money to throw out all of this uneaten food. Well, so this like farmers co-op came up and said, well, listen, we'll take it from you. And they were like, oh God, that's great. We'll save so much money by not having to call waste management to come pick this up. Well, they were taking it and turning it into animal feed. You just come and you slop it out for your hogs. And so now they're feeding their pigs. And these pigs are eating spaghetti, and bolognese sauce and whatever just wasn't popular that day at the MGM Grand. And then these companies got wise and they were like, you'll pay us to take this garbage away. And so that became a whole thing. And then when Arnold Schwarzenegger was really pushing using restaurant oil, used restaurant oil as an auto fuel source, companies like major brands started saying, well, we're no longer going to give away this stuff to the company that comes and dumps their used oil. They're going to charge for these companies to pick up the oil, which is then being turned around and put into cars. I think we gave up on that though because the smell associated.
Yeah, I remember seeing or hearing about a guy who had built one, and he was getting restaurant grease from like a restaurant down the street, and so he was getting enough for one car. But not only is it smelly, but you have all the other problems that come with a combustion engine, and that everything's getting messy. There's degradation of like the pieces and stuff because you're still igniting it, I think, in some way.
And if you've ever seen one of those oil dumpsters that are in the back of a restaurant, they are disgusting.
Yeah,
they really are.
It's probably still producing some kind of waste, even burning that stuff.
You used to work in a restaurant.
I did.
You were a hell of a waiter.
Oh.
And then you really were. I mean, you were.
I loved it.
You had the ability to be the friendly person who, when you took a drink order, you walk away from the table and they're like, "Yeah, he was nice. I like him. We're in good hands."
Yeah, I took pride in that job. I remember like one of my favorite things to do was we didn't have birthday candles where I worked, and they would have birthday parties. It was a kid friendly restaurant, and I was always bummed out that we never had birthday candles. So then I would take cocktail straws that were all neon colored, and I would put matchsticks in them individually, and then I would light like the matchsticks in the cocktail straw. I'm sure I was releasing some terrible smells and chemicals.
Doesn't
but I'm
matter.
like,
it's magical.
You came here for your 8th birthday, and you don't even have candles to blow out.
Oh, that's so smart.
I loved it.
That's why you're a good waiter.
It was fun.
What made you want to give up on being a waiter? Because
So
you ended up being a bartender too, right?
Yeah, bartending was just more money. But even to get out of the industry, because I still love the restaurant industry. I think the service industry is great. It's a lot of fun. It's fast paced. You always have cash at the end of the night, which is fun. But I was working at an ad agency in town during the day, and then I was still working in the bar at night. And this is a true story. I talked to some clients in the morning and the afternoon about this is how we should start spending your advertising dollars and some campaign concepts. And what do you think about this? And then that night I had to serve them again at the bar. And it's really hard to be taken seriously in the morning. We're like, this is where you should put your advertising, your billboard dollars. And then at night going, what kind of dipping sauces would you like? And at that moment, I was just like, I lost all credibility in their eyes. And
did you charge for your dipping sauces?
You started with 2. And then if you wanted extra, yeah.
This was a big conversation JJ and I had the other day about.
Yeah. There's some dude who owns a bunch of restaurants, and he said that he gave away millions of dollars worth of marinara last year. So they started charging for marinara at his Italian chain of eateries. And there are certain things that you expect as a consumer to be included. So don't charge me for ketchup, right? Ketchup should be something that's a given. Salt and pepper should be included on the table. Tucker asked, well, what happens if someone wanted to charge you for water? Because in most people's minds, well, water is free. Well, it's not free.
It's not free.
You pay for your water consumption. And so I would never pay for water, but if they told me it was going to be 15 cents extra for ice, I'd be kind of perturbed.
I wonder if the smarter move for that guy, and I can't say it's not a smart move because he was going, look, this much money we were losing on, that's a lot of money. We'd rather have that money. But at the same time, I wonder what is lost when you tell the customer, oh, you want that? Well, that will be extra versus finding a way to build that extra cost into something else that they don't see. So like, well, what if you just, if it's 50 cents for a side, why don't you just raise all your spaghetti dishes by 50 cents? And then if they ask for it, you're like, okay, you build it in that way so that the customer isn't aware that they're being charged for all this extra stuff.
Or give them an appropriate amount in the first place.
Sure.
So if I'm going to be, marinara was the example. If you've got 4 breadsticks on your plate and you give me a 2-ounce thing of marinara, that's not enough. So give me a 4-ounce, give me a 6-ounce. Find that ratio so I don't have to have.
So let me ask you this: as a server, as a former server, were you mad when they limited the amount that you could give? Is that so? Like, let's say somebody wants a side of ranch. Let's say like 3 people want a side of ranch, and you know that they're going to be ranch hogs. Is it hard to think like, I might as well bring them out 2 sides of ranch a piece? Wouldn't it be better if we just had a larger side of ranch?
We did. I was lucky enough that place knew that ranch was popular because it's the Midwest. So you would have a 4-ounce thing. And it's weird about ketchup and mustard though, because you're right. There are certain condiments you expect to be charged for extra on the plate, but why is ketchup free? And it's not always. I mean, you go to a finer dining place and they give you a little metal ramekin,
or even a different country. I mean, like anywhere in Europe, it's not that often you're going to find ketchup. They have it, but it's often not sitting on the table. There's like vinegar or mayo or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting about water. In Europe, at least when I was there, their default is bottled water.
Yep.
So if you want free water, you have to say, I would like tap water.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, and that way, which I think is a fair compromise.
Mm-hmm. Do you trust tap water in most of your journeys?
It's funny, just coming back from Thailand, they don't even trust their water.
Yeah.
Everything is bottled. And it's like, man, for all this you're spending on plastic, you could probably just fix your pipes.
Do you think people, when they come to the United States from other countries, don't trust our water after things like the Flint, Michigan situation, or those folks in Pennsylvania where the fracking is taking place where they can light their water on fire?
That's so bonkers. I think there's a healthy distrust at anything nowadays. And if you're, even as a tourist, if you're in a foreign country, it's just easier and more convenient to buy bottled beverages. I mean, you don't want to you're not going at the hotel and like filling up your jug for the day. You might, but you're already out and about. You've probably already assumed that you need to procure bottles.
I love the term potable. Is your water potable?
Potent potables.
What would be a potent potable?
We'll see how the
something like
pop
coffee.
filter handles that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably referring to liquor.
Oh,
right. Because anything that's potable, it's a liquid that can be ingested, right?
Correct.
So
potent to me, it's is a smell.
Yeah, or it's strong in some regard. So I guess anything that could be considered strong. Well, if it's a strong alcohol, it's probably going to have a strong smell.
I would say probably the most potent potable that's portable would be like a 5-hour energy.
Oh, it's strong
because of just whatever it's going to make that's going to soup you up.
Yeah, it's just supposed to last like, one beer's not going to give you an effect for 5 hours.
Sure. I guess, potency has a lot to do with effect too, right?
Yeah.
Like the potency of a drug. So I guess that would make sense then is what effect does it have on you? So Jolt soda would have been a potent
That's a
soda,
potent potable.
because you get buzzed like crazy after that.
Also, I don't think you guys are being sponsored by 5-Hour Energy or Jolt, are you?
Working on it.
I mean,
Working on
affiliate
it.
links.
Okay, because I'll plug whatever you need me to here.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? That's
I've got
one
a
thing
few
that
things
you
you
can
could
always
plug.
appreciate out of Jason is in the industry, so he knows what selling out is. We're very willing to sell out.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about trying to get some of that Me Undies money that's going around, maybe some Wix dollars coming in here.
We're totally willing to rebrand. So if we want to call this Pepsi Meets World, that's totally fine.
Oh, God, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed my shirt here, but
No, it's been covered in a
it's
hoodie.
this is just a series of logos that I've put on my shirt, and we'll blur out whichever logo doesn't match.
This is an aspirational logo shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, I wear aspirational. See, I don't wear those T-shirts, but if it was an aspirational logo shirt, I might. Also, I think I'd be more apt to wear a T-shirt if you shot it at me from a cannon.
Well, okay. Here's
now we're talking.
That's true.
T-shirt guns.
What if a mascot tosses it to you? So it's not out of a cannon, but the person who sent it to you is in a costume.
I was considering that my first few jobs were mascot characters. I have a lot of respect for mascots, so I would probably wear that as a courtesy.
I'm certainly not asking you to disrespect mascots.
No, just as I appreciate the difficulty it was to master the craft of walking in a giant head.
I like to imagine that all the mascots in town live in a shared universe.
That would include your dad.
Yep, my dad, Oli at Red Hawks. That would include Hawkeye. That would include the Cobber from Concordia.
That would include Scorch from MSUM,
Scorch from MSUM.
Thundar from NDSU.
Ollie the Otter from Ottertail Power Company.
That's right.
There's
Stubby the
Giant
Ticket from Marcus Theaters.
Those frogs from that. Was it Wayvoda Carpet? Or no, what carpet?
Carpet Garage.
Is that
Carpet Supermarket.
Is that the frogs?
I think it's Carpet Garage,
Yeah,
right?
Okay,
It is.
and then there's the duck for the siding company.
The
ABC
Seamless.
ABC Seamless.
There's also Sanford Children's has like a rat or a chipmunk or something.
I
And
hope
his
it's
name
not
is
a
like
rat.
Alphonse.
Ooh.
He's
so
magical.
classy.
We need a mascot, JJ.
There's a Chuck E. Cheese mascot.
Could we count just you as the mascot? You are the mascot. I mean,
I would love.
You are the life force,
right? Technically, I'm the spokesperson. There's a difference between spokesperson and mascot.
Correct.
I am the spokesperson. If we got an outfit made to look like our logo of me that I made you wear around,
is spokesperson and host same thing though? Because to me, spokesperson is someone who is hired. Basically, their job is to be the leading advocate for brand or service.
Yeah, but I don't think that would be a host.
No, but he would be a host, not a spokesperson, is what I'm saying, right? Because
He
he's
might
not
both.
He's not necessarily out there selling, shampoo.
Well, until we get sponsored by Herbal
I guess that's
Essences.
true.
I could.
But then you would be
my hair.
Then you would be the spokesperson for Herbal Essences, though, wouldn't you?
I am fascinated by that commercial. That was a phenomenon. Because again, you have to sell shampoo to women, and they're like, let's just make it orgasm sounds.
Yeah.
Here's
the thing. Someone bought that just on the thought, like, well, I mean, I might as well try it if that's what's going to happen, because I would like my shampooing to be a pleasurable sensation.
But what's that pitch like? So you got a room full of, you've got market research, you've got product people, salespeople. You have to go, okay, guys, we have recorded some sounds for you. I've picked them up off the internet, and I would just.
This group had this idea where like it's like having an orgasm, and they just pitched it to every client. So like you crack open a Michelob Light and you have an orgasm. You get new radial tires and you have an orgasm. And it wasn't until the Herbal Essences people were like, that they said, all right, guys, stop drilling. We've hit oil here.
One of these days, this orgasm pitch is going to take off.
It almost was for like an apartment building. Like we give you the keys and you. Thank you for joining at Bethany Crossing.
I'm cuckoo for cause.
See, there's an idea for a sketch. Is the ad company who just has one idea, and we're gonna make it work for everybody. Jason Jacobson, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This has been a blast. We went all over the place on this one.
Yeah, we really did. I'm glad that we ended on a climax.
Yeah. We found it. We found our Herbal Essences moment. And we took it there.
Hopefully there'll be a short refractory period between this and the next podcast. We're recording it today.
Do you if people want to find you out on the internet or look at some work, do you have anything that they can go look at and see and
not a lot at the moment
with?
So
by the way, Jason Jacobson also was voted Comedian of the Year as well a few years ago.
Yeah, Fargo Funny 2015. Not that I keep that by my nightstand, but
mine hangs in my office.
Yeah.
We both were given this award in different years, and I like to remind people I was given this award by the free newspaper in town.
I like to use it every time I say something that I think is funny, and my wife doesn't laugh. I'm like, well, I know what comedy is.
I'm sorry that we didn't introduce you as 2015 funniest Fargo person.
No,
winner.
that's good because I haven't done stand up in so long that like eventually it'll be 2030 and I'll be like, remember that time, and I'll be that old guy who's resting on his like orgasm commercial for 15 years. I don't want to be that guy.
I'd love to do a stand up episode with like maybe you and one other comic. Like get
Fred
Bevel
Bevel
in here. That'd be a lot of fun.
One of my favorite routines Jason does is it's always good to hear phrases that come in odd numbered words and then not even number words. So it's great because you bring it down. Like you're like, oh, this odd number, like, see, that's a good phrase. Even number, not good. Odd number, good. Even number, not so good. It's a really solid bit. And if you'd like to hear Jason do that, you just need to ask at open mic nights, will Jason Jacobson be performing? And if they say no, walk out.
Yep. And just
don't stay.
And find me on Facebook. Fun fact, and I probably shouldn't broadcast this to the universe, but I don't censor my Facebook page. Like, if
nice.
you find it, It's who
And
I
we
am,
don't
open-
censor this podcast. So
Yeah.
if you liked hearing Jason talk about diarrhea and orgasms
and pig penises
and pig penises that dogs chew on.
And Dennis the Menace.
I didn't contribute as much to that, but we did come up with a taco shirt and a peanuts themed restaurant.
We did so much here. So much.
I really want to start a podcast called the Pig Peanuts Podcast. With host Potty Mouth Potty Pants.
And we're done.
JJ Meets World.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. For more info, including how you can help us keep the lights on by donating to our Patreon, visit our website. All right, write it down, www.jjmeetsworld.com. Or hit us up on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites kids are using these days. Not MySpace. Stop asking. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World or revisit the old ones, don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcasts that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to see what JJ and his funny troupe of the Linebenders are up to, go to www.linebenders.com. I always notice that they're really nice cat condos, but no one's really building, cat low-income housing. Or ideas like multiple cat homes. It always just seems to be one. And there's always a little bell hanging from a string, but you don't see that in humans in there where they live. There's no bells on strings. Are we missing out?